In this lecture, we'll declare the state variables and we'll implement the contract constructor. So we'll save all pledges of our givers in a mapping variable named contributors. So mapping, the key is of type address. This is the address of the contributor and the value is the value he sent. Unsigned integer. The variable is public and its name is contributors. Then our campaign, our fundraising campaign, will have an admin. Address, public, admin. We'll save the total number of contributors in another state variable. We'll need this variable in some functions inside our contract. So uint public number of contributors. We also require a minimum contribution that can be donated to our campaign. So uint public minimum contribution. And as I said in the first lecture of this section, our campaign will have a deadline and a minimum goal that must be reached. If that goal is not reached, anyone can request a refund. So we have an uint public deadline and an uint public goal. Okay, this will be a timestamp. As I explained in the auction contract, if time is very sensitive and important, it's a better idea to use the block number instead of Unix timestamp. We know that every Ethereum block is mined at 15 seconds, so we can calculate the time using the number of Ethereum blocks that will be mined. For example, if I say that my fundraising campaign must be valid for 1 minute, I can also say that my campaign must be valid for the next 4 blocks. Another variable will be the raised amount. This is the total raised amount that our fundraising campaign received. So uint public raised amount. By default, this value is 0. If I hadn't explicitly written 0, the variable would have been anyway 0, the default value for an uint variable. This is only for more clarity. We'll have also other state variables, but we'll define them when we need it. Now I want to implement the constructor. So constructor, my constructor is public, and using the constructor, I'll initialize the goal and the deadline. I can also initialize the minimum contribution and so on. But I'll use a hard-coded value for the minimum contribution to test it easier. So uint underline goal, uint underline deadline. And here I can say that goal equals underline goal. This is the total amount a fundraising campaign must receive in order to be declared successful. And deadline is now plus underline deadline. What does it mean? It means that the campaign deadline will be reached in this number of seconds from this moment. Now is a global variable. In fact, it's an alias to block.timestamp and represents this moment. Then I initialize the admin of this campaign with the address that deploys the contract. So admin equals msg.sender. This is the admin. And I can also initialize the minimum contribution to a very low value. For example, minimum contribution equals 10. This is our constructor. When I deploy the contract, I must specify the constructor arguments. So I must specify a goal and a deadline. For example, my campaign should receive, let's say, 100 way, all values are in way, and its deadline will be in, let's say, it's just an example, 1000 seconds. The contract has been deployed. We can see here the admin, the address that deployed the contract, the deadline, the goal, the minimum contribution, okay, and the raised amount is 0.